Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of our Dungeon Boss Hero Spotlight. Today we're taking a brand look at the brand new hero, Iris, who is going to be opened up in the hero calendar. So as a VIP, I've now gotten 10 tokens for him. We're going to take a look at what he's all about, what his abilities, stats, and costs are, see if it's something you want to spend your hard-earned money on. So, at first glance, it is clear that Iris is probably going to be some sort of a monster, because he looks like a monster. I do kind of like the name, the fact that, one, he's an eye, which makes Iris stand out. And also, Iris is a purple flower, which also seems to match. The only thing I'm not too thrilled about is the fact that it is indeed another new dark hero. I kind of thought they'd be a little bit more progressive on that, but that's neither here nor there. So, let's take a look at what Iris is all about. We'll see what he actually looks like. He's looking like he's going to be some sort of, basically a little monster dude. He actually looks like an octopus. If he doesn't have some sort of an ink-based attack, I'll be moderately disappointed. He definitely has 8 legs. So maybe he's not a monster. Maybe he's a squid. No, he's definitely a monster. Okay, so let's take a look at what his overall stats are, what he costs in terms of ascensions and such like that. At first glance, his rune loadout looks to be the typical dark rune loadout, so we're not looking at anything totally obscure like Shade or like Koros or there's one other one I forgot. But so pretty much standard dark rune loadout. Stats, he's a flyer. I wouldn't have guessed that, but that's okay. So he starts out as a flyer. He starts out as mystical because he's a caster. That makes sense there. And his basic one is watch and learn. So applies an observation debuff to an enemy hit. Observation copies any buffs applied to that enemy and also applies them to Iris as well. Iris is immune to observation. Meaning, any type of buffs that an enemy gets, Iris is going to get as well. The only thing I do not know is that is this something that takes place after the fact, or is it something where it will automatically copy? Because that is a big deal, because a lot of heroes will start with buffs, and if this is something that is only after they get the buff, like it says, any buffs applied to that enemy will also apply to Iris. That's something we'll have to keep an eye on in terms of, does this apply right away? So, for example, would somebody that starts a dungeon taunting, is Iris going to start taunting? That remains to be seen. Okay, first ability. He is Eyes of the Beholder. Buffs allies attack 21%. That's going to be an attack buff, and it's a ranged dark attack on target. Nothing obscure there. Actually, it's your basic run-of-the-mill attack. This is essentially Abigail the Brutal. Basically just a buff attack and attack them. So it's kind of nice to see something that's not a major, I guess, game changer right out of the gate. So nothing too critical there. We're going to go ahead and look at our first Ascension. First Ascension cost is a moderate 4, I believe those are Valkyrie. Shadow Evos, not Valkyrie. Valkyries have the other little wings on them. But 4 Celestial Evos, that's not bad for a first Ascension for a hero like this. I think that's going to be pretty moderate. Does require quite a bit of the Dark Evo Monarchs, which if you're very low, it might be a pain to get some of those. You might have to do a little bit of farming, but those things are pretty much everywhere. The first Ascension is going to grant us apparently 3 additional traits. That's pretty awesome. I like to see traits on heroes. First one is just an upgrade to Eye of the Beholder. And so basically it adds to the first one. What did I miss on the first one? Just a single one on the enemy. So basically we're going to get almost an AoE, but not quite. It's going to be a repeated attack. So on target and 2 more, that's pretty good. And bigger attack buff. Let's see, Destructive Deconstruction, so ranged dark attack on target. This is his new ability. We'll go ahead and, you know what, let's just ascend. Gained himself 2 extra eyes. I do like the little animation that he did there. It's pretty cool. Alright, so Destructive Deconstruction. Ranged attack on the target, dealing damage, bonus damage for each buff on this hero, and each buff on the target. that seems like it's going to be a one hit kill, and it only costs 3 energy to start, so it's likely we're going to see people getting this powered up right to begin with. But this is going to be reminiscent of, who was it? There was a hero out there that stack damage for every debuff. I think it might have been Malice. Every debuff on the hero, and it just said times 2, times 3, times 4, times 5. This one here is going to be pretty impressive, because if you've already used this and have the trait on here, this watch and learn. So if you copy 4 buffs from somebody, and you have 4 on yourself, and you have 4 on the enemy, that seems to me that bonus damage each. Now, how much the bonus damage is going to be times 1 is normal, and then if there's 1 buff shared, it's going to be 1 for them, 1 for you. That's going to be plus a times 2, so times 3, and then times 5, times 7, times 9. That we'll have to see when we actually do PvP, but this looks like it could be a mechanic that basically just one hit kills anybody, except for people who don't have buffs, or people that like Furnace, who just can't be killed that quickly. So this seems like it's going to be really great if you're going to kill the person that you're copying, but also if you steal a bunch of buffs from someone, you can also kill somebody else. I think this is going to be a pretty cool one. It's just going to be a matter of getting to use this one rather quickly. If you have the Festive Runes to get this up in turn 1, that's going to be a big one, or something else that gives plus energy. That being said, it's such a quick turnaround, I think you'll be able to use it before he's dead anyways. He is a caster, so it's possible that you might run into issues there. Alright, his next trait that he got, Windows to the Soul, that is because eyes are windows to the soul. All attacks have shield piercing and will heal 25% of the damage dealt. Pretty big deal here, because shield piercing basically says see you later to the barbarians when that sort of mechanic pops at the very end. That'll be nice. Heal 25% of the damage dealt. That's always great for a caster, because if you pimp this guy out for an attack based iris, you're likely going to be healing quite a bit. Pair that with something like aerial superiority for Furno, and also maybe having shade or other things that protect casters in terms of defense. Being a caster, I don't know how survivable he's going to be, especially these first couple days before you get a ton of stars on him. But this could end up keeping him around quite a bit, but we'll have to see. His second Ascension requires 8 of the Caveborn, which another basic Evo, and then Crypt Evo. So 10 total Celestial Evos. Now we have another whole bunch of dark, not Monarchs, but just Dark Evos. There's a lot of them, and a bunch of green Monarchs. So the Celestial Evos are pretty on par with what we've seen for pretty much every hero, except for some of the really elite ones. But it looks like we are dealing with quite a few of the bottom level Evos that you need to spam and get those. So see what he looks like when he does his dance again. I actually can't tell if Iris is a male or female. The purple makes me want to think that she is a female, but I would have to confirm with the devs there. Unless it's said in the tooltip somewhere. It said, where's my stats? It does not say in here. It's a bummer. Okay, so additional trait, we have the Unnatural Fear. This is a monster thing. We had Windows to the Soul 2 that gets upgraded, and we have, that's still the same, Aerial Superiority. No, it's just flying, sorry. And then we have Intellect. Okay, this is a big one here. It's a long one. So gain a stack for each new buff applied to this hero. So 5% skill per stack. When we're at 5 stacks, Intellect is removed, and monster and caster allies gain Hive Mind, 25% damage penetration, 25% damage reduction, and 25% skill. So basically, if you're stealing buffs, it seems to me like, I don't know how you're going to routinely steal buffs here, because oh, I see. I was wondering how we got these buffs in the first place. Anybody that's hit is where the buffs come from. So we can keep acquiring additional buffs. I was thinking this was some sort of a passive that applied, but we had to actually acquire those from somewhere, and they weren't the first ability. So keep him around long enough, and it's not the same as building Rage in a Barbarian, but it's going to be pretty close too. So you hit somebody, and provided they have a buff, you're going to claim that buff for yourself, and ultimately build this Intellect. Now, I'm not sure what the grand plan is here. Obviously, the extra damage reduction is going to be great in PvP. The skill will be great for his own healing. Damage penetration, I still kind of think is kind of a patsy stat. I don't really care about it too much. But I think this is going to be, somewhat handy. I don't know if it's going to be a big one. If you can get a lot of buffs quickly, I still think in PvP, especially if you're going against this guy on defense, you're probably going to kill him fairly soon. So I would say keep an eye on this one, but thing is, the bonus for it is only for monsters and only for casters. So depending on the team you pick, it might only just buff him. And so I'm not totally sold on this yet until we see what the damage reduction does and the bonus to skill. So we'll see where that pans out. Last one is called Annihilation Beam. That actually sounds pretty cool. Annihilation Beam has energy cost of 5, so purges all buffs and debuffs on target enemy, then makes a ranged spirit attack on the target that sets the enemy's health to just under half of their current health. So, okay. It's it's definitely a cool ability because it's not limited to any type of damage. So, but it does have a hard cap of damage based on what the person's health is. So it's one of the only skills in the entire game, I think, that does damage without actually giving us a number in terms of damage. So it's going to set the enemy's health to 49.5% of their current health, not their maximum health. So if they have 10,000 out of 20,000 health, it's going to drop them down to roughly 5,000, dealing a total damage of 5,000. So in the grand scheme of things, you may compare this to other big damage dealers like Agnon, for example, and when he does 100,000 damage on somebody, this ability is never going to do that. The absolute maximum damage on this is, if I understand people's health buffs, maybe it's going to be about 20,000. I think I've seen someone get about 40,000 health before. So this here is going to have a pretty hard limit in terms of using it. The big issue that I see with this particular ability, while it's going to guarantee you do a lot of damage, even with someone with high damage reduction and high defense, is this will never be a kill shot. So you have to kind of play that by ear in terms of who do you want to use this on and why, because you're never going to kill anybody with it. That's the only downside to having a percentage-based attack. It is pretty cool, though, to have an ability like this. We just don't see it that much. Optic Blast is one. It's basic spirit attack, so it won't hurt people like Echo, won't hurt Solaris. So that's what we're looking at to start with. So we can go ahead and level this guy up. I don't think I'm going to do PvP today. We're going to wait a little bit for the calendar event to start here, and then we'll jump back in after we can see some of the teams that are out there in terms of using him. First glance is I like that he's not an overpowered brand new hero, and certainly as far as Dark goes, he's very modest in my opinion. His abilities aren't going to be showstoppers all the way around. The trait where you're going to be grabbing debuffs or buffs and basically making him stronger, that's actually pretty cool. This is probably what I want to see the most, is apply observation debuff and basically steal these buffs from people, because I think this is going to be more so of Iris isn't going to be a killing machine per se. I think Iris is going to be more so of doing something that disrupts the flow of battle by stealing debuffs here or there, like a well-placed taunt steal or a well-placed something else. I don't know what that's going to be yet, possibly a shield, but this here is going to be a big one in my opinion. That being said, he's a caster. He's likely going to be squishy until you get some stars on him. And to be honest, I don't know who he's going to be paired with yet. I don't think he is a direct threat to either barbarians or dwarves right now. I don't think he's going to disrupt any type of Agnon, Emily, and Valken teams. I don't think he's going to be powerful enough to do that, but it remains to be seen. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight in terms of at least what he's going to cost you to level up, and in a couple of days we'll do some PvP on him and see what sort of teams actually look good. Keep in mind, if you do want to buy him from the shop, I do recommend, because of the hero calendar situation, don't spend all your money on the keys. If you're going to spend your hard-earned money on keys, for example, if you're spending $100, buy the $100 bundle instead that gives you, 250 tokens, and then just use your basic run-of-the-mill silver keys to get the rest of them, and you will get yourself a 6-star Iris. Do not try to buy enough keys to get 6-star. You're just going to end up spending more money. I can guarantee you 100%. If you spend $100 on the 250 tokens, I've done it twice already, you will get a 6-star Iris if you want him. So don't waste too much money on actual keys. Okay, as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to leave them below. Otherwise, we will see you in a few days once we whip out some PvP teams. Thanks. Thank you so much for watching this video and supporting my channel. If you like this video, please show your continued support by hitting that like button, and be sure to check out both my YouTube channels for new content all the time. And always remember, peace is a lie, there's only passion. We'll see you next time.